and welcome back to Most Amazing Top 10. I'm Rebecca Felgate and I am fascinated by boats. I love the water and I consider myself a nautical kind of gal, but oceans are deep and mysterious and sometimes they can be very scary places to be. Join me as we talk about the top 10 cruise ship disasters. Starting off at number 10 with an old favourite to get it out of the way, the most famous cruise ship disaster of all time, we have the sinking of the Titanic in 1912. Most of us know the story. The Titanic was a huge deal. It was the biggest cruise ship ever. It was even dubbed unsinkable by some pompous idiots who wanted headlines more than they wanted a strong grasp of science and maths. Many of us will know that the Titanic was 4 days into its maiden voyage when it struck an iceberg in the North Atlantic. Again, most of us already know that there were not enough lifeboats on board to save everyone from death. In the end, just 710 people survived and 1,514 died in icy waters. What some people don't know is that the Titanic was going very fast when it hit the iceberg. Bosses wanted the ship to arrive early in New York to gain extra press. There was a huge class divide in how many people were saved. Just one child died in first class, none died in second class, and in third class, 52 of the 79 children perished. Again, most first and second class women were saved, but most third class women died. The Titanic is so famous as the circumstances surrounding the tragedy were so avoidable and the vessel sank slowly and extremely dramatically. Some more drama at number 9, but no deaths. We have some pirates. Ugh. That's right, we have the 2005 Seabourn Spirit siege. The Seabourn Spirit is a luxury cruise liner, and at this time it was sailing off the coast of Eastern Africa. Unfortunately, it was then that it was set upon by Somalian pirates. The pirates presumably wanted to loot the boat and were firing guns and throwing grenades at the huge vessel. Luckily, the ship's captain acted very quickly. They steered the boat to make waves to slow down the pirates. While one passenger was injured as people hid in the boat's restaurant, the captain was able to steer the ship to safety. This story is dramatic, but it's nothing compared to a lot of other disasters on this list. Coming into number 8, we have the Explorer of the Seasickness of 2014. Royal Caribbean's Explorer of the Sea cruise ship was met with a plague of illness when it sailed from New Jersey in January 2014. The boat had just over 3,000 passengers on board and 1,100 crew members. Of this number, 595 passengers got sick, as did 50 crew. This was because of a suspected outbreak of the norovirus. It is thought that the number of sick was actually much higher, but people did not admit it as they didn't want to be confined to their cabins. Apparently, the boat smelled overwhelmingly of vomit and bleach throughout the whole latter part of the trip, which is pretty gross. The boat returned 2 days early to let sick passengers disembark and to deep cleanse. Again, this does sound horrible, but at least everybody made it home alive. For the rest of the numbers on this list, the same cannot be said. Coming into number 7, we have the Louis Majesty cruise ship incident of 2010. The Louis Majesty was a Mediterranean cruise with 1,350 passengers on board. A giant 26-foot wave battered the vessel in March 2010. Dramatic footage of the moment the waves hit has been captured on video and uploaded to YouTube. The waves smashed windows in the ship, flooding some of the areas, which must have been very terrifying. Sadly, 2 passengers were killed, 1 German man and 1 Italian man. A further 6 passengers were injured. A modern tragic cruise ship disaster up next, we have the capsizing of the Costa Concordia in 2010. This is all coming into number 6. The Costa Concordia was at the beginning of a Mediterranean cruise with over 3,000 passengers on board. The ship's captain deviated from their usual route to sail closer to the island of Isola del Giglio. The ship struck rocks and began to list, falling onto her side after an hour. The crew on board reportedly told passengers to return to their cabins. 33 people died as a result of the incident, with 1 person still missing 5 years on. A further 64 people were injured. Scandal comes as the ship's captain, Francesco Schettino, abandoned the ship and was found guilty of manslaughter. If I know anything about captains, it's that they should never abandon their ships. The captain of the Titanic famously went down with it. Coming into number 5, we have the SS Princess Sophia of 1918. The Princess Sophia was said to be a beautiful ship, especially in first class. She had maple panelled lounges, a piano room and a dining room. The Canadian coastal passenger liner made her last voyage from Alaska to British Columbia. The ship encountered heavy and blinding snow, running her slightly off course and grounding her on a reef. As the boat was stuck on a reef, the captain decided not to evacuate the ship as they thought that a rescue vessel would be coming for them soon. June. As the weather worsened, the ship must have dislodged from the reef and sunk. When the rescue ship arrived, there was no sign of the Princess Sophia. A wreck was found a day later, and all 343 aboard died. The only survivor was a small dog. Coming into number 4, we have the SS Camorta of 1902. The Camorta was a British passenger steamship that was en route from India to Burma across the Bay of Bengal. On board were merchants and wealthy Indian travelers as well as crew members. Sadly, as the ship crossed the bay, she was caught in a cyclone. It is not known exactly how she sank, as sadly all of the 655 passengers and the 82 crew members died. The wreck was found several weeks after she went missing, with her masts still poking out of reasonably shallow water. Coming into number 3, we have the SS Eastland tragedy of 1915. Just 3 years after the Titanic disaster, another 845 people were killed as a ship docked in the Chicago River rolled over. On board the Great Lakes passenger steamliner were over 2,500 people. These were all set to be attending the Western Electric employee picnic. It is thought that the boat was overloaded, which may have been why she rolled, although an exact reason was never given for the incident. Coming into number 2, we have the MS Estonia tragedy of 1994. The MS Estonia was a cruise ferry that sank in the mid-90s, making it one of the worst peacetime shipwreck disasters ever. In the early hours of the 28th of September 1994, the Estonia was crossing the Baltic Sea en route to Stockholm with 803 passengers and 186 crew members aboard. The ship was fully loaded and listing slightly as the cargo was said to be poorly distributed. When the ship hit bad weather, she listed further and took in water. Then she rolled 90 degrees. The ship sank in about 45 minutes, and the positioning of the boat made it very difficult for passengers to escape. The power on the boat kept cutting out, which meant it was hard to send mayday messages. Of the 989 people aboard, 852 died, which is really grim. Worse still, the Swedish government did not even try and bring up the bodies trapped in the ship. Finally, at number 1, a tragedy that echoed the Titanic so soon after it sank, we have the RMS Empress of Ireland tragedy in 1914. This was a truly horrifying echo of the Titanic just 2 years after the great cruise liner sunk in the Northern Atlantic. The RMS Empress of Ireland was also a luxury ocean liner, and like the Titanic, most of her passengers died. On a foggy evening, the ship collided with another ship, the Norwegian SS Storstad, in the St. Lawrence River. This all went down on the 29th of May, and the ship sunk very quickly in just 15 minutes. Because of the quick sinking time and the late time of the evening that the collision happened, most people were trapped in their cabins below deck. Just 465 people were saved, and 1,012 people sadly perished. So guys, that was the top 10 cruise ship disasters. I know it's a bit of a longer list for you today, and it is really sad, but the history of it all is so fascinating. Do let me know what you thought to this list in the comments section down below, and also let me know what kind of top 10 list you would like us to make in the future. For now, I'm Rebecca Felgate. We've got a link to our Patreon in the comments section down below, so do feel free to support us there. Make sure you leave a like on this video, share it with a friend, and stay subscribed for more interesting lists. I'll see you next time.